Eto na ang programang magiging gabay mo upang ikaw ay matuto. DepEd 12 Radyo Eskwela. Makinig at matuto. DepEd 12 Radyo Eskwela. Alternatibong programang handog ng DepEd Soxergen na kahit saan ka man ay matututo ka. DepEd 12 Radyo Eskwela.
Naguguluhan, nalilito. Paano ba kung matututo?
Good day to our grade 10 students. This is your school on the air in grade 10 English. We are glad to be learning with you through radio. I am Miss Hera Joy Alcahoy from Buayan National High School. Make sure that you are in your most comfortable place and can clearly hear our broadcast. Have you eaten your meal? In order for you to learn and understand our lesson this day properly, it would be better if you have already eaten your meal. This time, I want you to bring out your handout. Again, let me remind you that our lesson for today is about comparing and contrasting the contents of the materials viewed. Specifically, comparing and contrasting definitions. Okay, everyone, please bring out your handout now. Okay, everyone, before we will begin with a new lesson, let's take a look and review the concepts you have learned in the past lesson. I hope that you can still remember all our previous lesson. Can you still remember what we have learned last time? Anyone? Very good. In the previous lesson, we have learned about simple narrative writing. In making your own story, make sure to follow the 3 elements of a short story. These are the following. Number 1, parts of the plot. Number 2, characterization. And number 3, author's purpose. What are the parts of the plot again, learners? Very good. The parts of the plot are exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. Moreover, characterization is the development of the characters based on the descriptions. Lastly, the author's purpose is his reason or intent in writing. An author's purpose may be to amuse, to persuade, to inform a reader, or even to satirize a condition. This time, please be ready to learn our new lesson. Are you ready? If you want to go to the toilet or drink water, do it now, because few moments from now, we're going to start. Hello, are you back, dear students? Please get your notebook and pen now. As what I have said a while ago, our lesson for today is about comparing and contrasting the contents of the materials viewed. Specifically, comparing and contrasting definitions. Please bring out your handout so you can follow me. To all the grade 10 learners, this is our Module 4, Lesson number 1. Later, we will have a short quiz. If you will listen very carefully and attentively to the lesson, I am sure you can answer the questions well. So good luck, learners, and enjoy the lesson. Good day again, grade 10 students. I am back. Our lesson for today is about comparing and contrasting the contents of the materials viewed, specifically comparing and contrasting definitions. Are you ready? get your notebook and ball pen because we are now going to start our lesson. We believe that in our daily activities, we are facing different kinds of decision making in life, like what to wear, where to go, and what strand in senior high school you choose to. In this lesson, you will learn how to compare and contrast things around us and how to choose wisely. So let us now start. Let us define now, compare and contrast. Let us start with the word compare. Compare is taken from the Latin word comparare, which means to liken or to compare. Comparing things means pointing out their similarities or what they have in common. For example, apples and oranges are both fruits. They are both foods. Both are made into juice. Both grow on trees. On the contrary, when you contrast items, you look at their differences. Contrast is derived from Latin words contra and stare, which means against and to stand. In Middle English, contrast was used for meaning to fight against or to withstand in a battle. Contrasting things mean pointing out their differences or where they diverge from one another. For example, apples are red, oranges are orange. Oranges need a warm place to grow, like Florida. Apples can grow in cooler states like Washington. For you to understand more in comparing and contrasting, I wanted to bring out your self-learning modules. Okay, everyone, please bring out your self-learning module number 4 so you can follow with the lesson. This lesson requires you to open your modules since we will be talking comparing and contrasting. Before we continue, I want you to open your self-learning module on page 7. I want you to answer activity 1.1. Fill in the missing data in the following Venn diagram, which scientifically compares a butterfly and a moth. Use critical thinking and select only relevant information based on a topic from the following list. Draw the Venn diagram and write all your answers in your answer sheet. Hello again, grade 10 students. Let us continue with our lesson. Have you answered your activity? We will check that later, okay? Now, for the continuation of our lesson, comparing and contrasting are ways of looking at objects and thinking about how they are alike and different. Comparing things mean pointing out their similarities or what they have in common. Contrasting things mean pointing out their differences or where they diverge from one another. Can you identify now comparing and contrasting? For instance, all these items are alike because they are kinds of food, but there are many ways that they are different. For instance, they belong to different food groups. Some must be cooked before eating, and some can be eaten raw. When you write compare and contrast, you will pay attention to these kinds of details. Okay, let's continue. Please open your self-learning module on page 6. Did you open it already? Very good. On page 6, you can read there 2 main reasons that people use comparison and contrast. One of the main reasons that people use comparison and contrast is to, number 1, to explain. You might compare and contrast kinds of food. For instance, to help someone understand which food needs to have refrigerated and which can be stored in a cabinet or in a bowl on the counter. Number 2, to evaluate. You might compare and contrast kinds of food to show what kind of food or brand of food is better than another. For example, apples are better snack than butter. When you choose items to compare and contrast, make sure that you choose items that have similarities. You have to choose things that will make sense of comparison and contrast. For instance, it wouldn't make sense to compare a chalk with a crayon or crayons with a birdhouse. Be sure to compare things that belong together. Compare crayons to pencils or pens, or compare trucks and cars. When you compare items, you look for their similarities, the things that make them the same. Did you get now the differences of comparing and contrasting, students? Very good. To compare or contrast, you need 2 subjects that have a basis for comparison, or BFC. A basis for comparison is an essential common element that makes it logical to compare the 2 items. There are many ways to compare and contrast the features of items, people, events, and etc. Many types of graphic organizers make it easier to examine these similarities and differences, including Venn diagrams, charts, and others. I hope that you have understood our lesson today about comparing and contrasting the contents of the materials viewed. Specifically, comparing and contrasting definitions. We will do the recap later after some reminders. Good luck on your short quiz. And we are back on our School on the Air. We have learned a while ago about comparing and contrasting the contents of the materials viewed, specifically comparing and contrasting definitions. We enjoyed the lesson, right? And we are back once again on School on the Air in Grade 10 English. I shared about comparing and contrasting the contents of the materials viewed. Specifically, comparing and contrasting definitions. This time, let us do the recap. Please open your notes and let us review what you have learned today. Let us review what we have learned today. Are you ready, students? Okay, let us start. Compare is taken from the Latin word comparare, which means to liken or to compare. Comparing things means pointing out their similarities or what they have in common. On the contrary, when you contrast items, you look at their differences. Contrast is derived from Latin words contra and stare, which means against and to stand. In Middle English, contrast was used for meaning to fight against or to withstand in a battle. Contrasting things mean pointing out their differences or where they diverge from one another. Can you still remember the two main reasons that people use comparison and contrast? Anybody? Do you have that in your notes? Very good, students. The two main reasons that people use comparison and contrast are as follows: to explain and to evaluate. I believe you have learned a lot from the very start of our lesson. It's a pleasure that you will perfectly remember the significant points of your lesson. Now that you are done with our lesson, it's time to measure your knowledge on what you have learned today. Please bring out your quiz form. Please write your name, section, and date today. Please do not forget the lesson number for this quiz today. Module number 4, lesson number 1. Good, that is correct. Are you ready? Please set aside your notes and listen very carefully. Now that you have learned much from the start of this lesson, it's time for you to check what you have learned. I will be giving you 5 questions for this quiz. Listen very carefully. Please fill in the blanks with appropriate word or phrase that correctly fits in each of the sentences about compare and contrast. For you to follow, you can open your self-learning module on page 8, activity 1.2. Okay, please bring it out. Ready? Here is question number 1. Blank are ways of looking at objects and thinking about how they are alike and different. Number 2 means pointing out their similarities or what they have in common. Number 3. Blank means pointing out their differences or where they diverge from one another. Number 4. Blank and blank mean pointing out their differences or where they diverge from one another. Number 5. Blank is a graphic organizer that is made up of 2 or 3 overlapping circles used to visualize the relationship between 2 or 3 sets. That ends our short quiz for today. Have you answered all the questions, students? Make sure that you have written all the important details in your quiz form. If you have more questions, please do not hesitate or include to write it down. If you have any questions or would like to clarify, please write them down as well. Okay, so I wanted to bring out and check your answers in the previous activity I have given you. Activity 1.1 on the similarities and differences of a butterfly and a moth. Please bring out your activity and please check your answers honestly. For the similarities, has 3 pairs of legs, has 6 wings. For the differences, hatches from cocoon, looks pretty, featured in Rizal's story, hatches from chrysalis. Did you get all the correct answers? Wow, that was great! And now let us check your answers in your quiz. Again, please be honest in checking your own answers. These are the answers. Number 1, compare and contrast. Number 2, comparing. Number 3, contrasting. Number 4, explain, evaluate. Number 5, Venn diagram. How was your score? Did you get all the correct answers on your quiz? Don't worry if you were not able to get all the correct answers. You can still learn more and do better on your next quiz. Congratulations, students! This ends our discussion for today. Another lesson has been learned and understood. To further enhance your understanding on the lesson, please read your handout. You will be notified by your subject teacher through text message for more information and clarification. You can also send your activity to your teacher's email or send a message through Facebook. Make sure to stay tuned in our School on the Air. Till next time, this has been your teacher, Ms. Herenjoy L. Cahoy. Always remember to study well. Have a great day ahead, everyone. God bless. Goodbye.
Bagong araw na naman, bagong kaalaman, bagong matututunan sa paaralang panghimpapawid. Kami samahan, sabayan ng mga aralin, mga gawain siguradong kagigiliwan. Oras na, alisto na, halina't makinig at matuto sa Radyo General.
Make sure to stay tuned in our School on the Air. Till next time, this has been your teacher, Ms. Herenjoy L. Cahoy. Always remember to study well. Have a great day ahead, everyone. God bless. Goodbye.
Bagong araw na naman,